At approximately 4:15 p.m. on the 27th of November, 1995, a taxi driver dropped 16-year-old Ruth Wilson beside a bridleway on Box Hill. It was raining, and daylight was fading. As the taxi pulled away, Ruth did not walk toward the path or the nearby pub. She simply stood there, looking as though she might be waiting for someone. 2 days later, flowers she had ordered arrived for her stepmother. Ruth never came home. The driver, whose identity has never been made public, later told Surrey police that this fare felt different from any other. He had picked Ruth up at Dorking Station for the short, winding journey up the hill. When they reached the bridleway near the Hand in Hand pub, she paid in cash and stepped out into the downpour. But instead of seeking shelter or heading down the trail, she simply stood there. In his rear-view mirror, the driver watched her remain completely still next to her blue duffel bag, ignoring the cold rain. Normally, passengers walk away immediately, but Ruth lingered, looking around as if expecting a meeting. This single, unsettling image would become the anchor of the entire investigation. As the cab disappeared down the unlit lane, she was left alone in the dark, and no one would ever officially report seeing her alive again. To those who knew her, 16-year-old Ruth Wilson was a quiet, dedicated Year 11 student at the Ashcombe School in Dorking. Friends and family recalled a teenager with a strong interest in music who played both the piano and electric guitar and worked part-time at a local music shop. She was active in her community, participating in a youth group and her local church's handbell choir. According to those close to her, the days leading up to Monday, the 27th of November, showed no signs of distress or unusual behavior. Outwardly, her life appeared entirely ordinary. On Monday, November 27th, Ruth made a series of highly deliberate choices. She did not board the school bus that morning, skipping her classes at the Ashcombe School. Friends recall she also declined a lift, opting instead to hail a taxi around 9:30 in the morning that took her into Dorking Town Centre. According to library visitor records, she signed in at Dorking Library at 12:05 p.m. and spent 90 minutes reading before checking out at 1:35 p.m. From there, she walked to Thistle's Florist on the High Street. Reportedly, she paid cash for a bouquet of flowers for her stepmother, explicitly instructing the florist to delay delivery until Wednesday and to leave the card completely blank. Shortly after, she walked to Dorking Station. By late afternoon, she boarded a second taxi, asking the driver to head toward Box Hill. These precise movements, documented through local business transactions and library logs, show a teenager methodically directing her own day. Yet, her ultimate destination remained a quiet bridleway as the daylight began to fade. When Ruth failed to return to Betchworth that evening, her family's immediate concern prompted a call to the police. By the morning of November 28th, Surrey police initiated an active missing person investigation, centering their efforts on the vast, rugged terrain of Box Hill. Over the next several days, search teams mobilized across the southwest slope and the bridleway where she was last seen. Local reports describe a large-scale operation utilizing police dogs, helicopter patrols, and thermal imaging equipment to scour the dense undergrowth. Yet, despite the intensity of the search and the specialized gear deployed, investigators found no clothing, no physical evidence, and no confirmed trace of the teenager. The hill offered no clues, leaving investigators with only a silent, rain-soaked expanse and an empty path. Weeks after the active search ended, contemporary media reports introduced a new layer to the mystery. Journalists described the discovery of 3 handwritten, farewell-style notes, reportedly found hidden beneath a bush near Betchworth Quarry on the Box Hill Ridge. These documents were allegedly addressed to her father, stepmother, her best friend, and a teenage boy. Alongside these papers, searchers reportedly recovered empty paracetamol packaging, while later reporting introduced a half-empty bottle of vermouth to the scene. While these items suggest a teenager in severe distress, their placement and origin remain unverified by official forensic releases. Without a physical recovery, these reported discoveries raise questions about her state of mind, but they cannot prove what actually happened to Ruth on that rain-soaked hill. When the mixed bouquet of roses and lilies arrived at the Wilson home on Wednesday, November 29th, Ruth had been missing for 48 hours. The flowers, ordered on Monday, were accompanied by a completely blank card. In the quiet aftermath of her disappearance, this physical object became the most haunting contradiction of her final day. The precise timing of the delivery shifts the gesture from a simple errand into something far more complex. To arrange a delivery for 48 hours in the future requires forward planning. If Ruth intended to end her life that Monday afternoon, the flowers could be read as a silent parting gift, a quiet goodbye, or an apology to her stepmother. Yet, other interpretations exist. A blank card sent to her stepmother shortly after Ruth discovered a hidden family secret carries a sharper edge. Could it have been an expression of unresolved anger, or a deliberate attempt to mislead those who would soon be looking for her? A delayed delivery might buy a runaway valuable time, convincing her family that she was safe and planning to return, delaying the start of a police search. Or perhaps the flowers held a private meaning, known only to Ruth herself. What makes this gesture so difficult for investigators to reconcile is the sheer organization of the act. It stands in direct conflict with the chaos of a sudden abduction or the impulsivity of a tragic accident. Ruth knew she would not be home to see them arrive. Nesta Wilson, Ruth's biological mother, died in December 1982 when Ruth was only 3 years old. For years, the family reportedly maintained that her mother had died after an accidental fall down the stairs. But in October 1995, just weeks before she vanished, Ruth reportedly visited a public records office in London and discovered her mother's official death certificate. Coroner's records established that Nesta had actually died by suicide. This background adds important emotional context to Ruth's final weeks, though investigators have never found evidence directly linking this tragic family history to her disappearance. The idea of a planned disappearance offers a shred of hope that Ruth chose to walk away and start over. Yet this theory must be weighed against the practical record. Friends and family recalled that Ruth could not drive, severely limiting how far she could travel on foot from that dark ridge. She was also believed to have no passport, ruling out travel abroad. While several sightings have been reported since 1995, every lead remains completely unverified by police. Without transport, documents, or ongoing financial activity, the practical reality of maintaining a new life remains highly improbable. 5 theories attempt to explain Ruth's disappearance, each presenting a distinct possibility and a major contradiction. An accident fits the steep, rain-slicked terrain, but fails to explain why extensive ground and aerial searches found no physical trace. Suicide is supported by the reported farewell notes and her mother's history, but the deliberate, forward-planned flower delivery contradicts a sudden, impulsive act. An abduction explains why she lingered by the roadside, but no witness or forensic evidence supports a third-party encounter. Murder remains possible in such an isolated setting, yet investigators found no crime scene. Finally, a planned disappearance matches her methodical final hours, but the practical obstacles of starting over with no money, passport, or driver's license make a sustained escape highly improbable. Nearly 3 decades later, the silence on Box Hill remains unbroken. The enduring question is who held the key to Ruth's secret world. If you have any genuine information, please contact Surrey Police or Missing People. For a family still waiting, even the smallest detail could finally bring closure.